Okay, let's talk about pull requests. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create a pull request on GitHub. Pull requests are essential to creating a nice, clean, bug-free code base, especially if you work within a team of developers. And yeah, they're just basically essential to creating a production-ready code base that you can then ship and have users actually use. Okay, so let's see what we're going to see in this very brief presentation. I'm going to explain what exactly is a pull request. A lot of people talk about requests, pull requests, merging a pull request, but they don't actually understand what's going on behind the scenes. They don't really know when they would use it. So then we're going to explain why would you want to use a pull request. And then we're going to see the process of actually creating a pull request. I specifically define 6 steps that go into creating a pull request. And then I'm going to give you just a little conclusion on pull requests and why they're good in general. So let's actually get into it. What even is a pull request? They're typically called PRs. Okay, so a pull request is a way to propose changes to a code base. When you work on a feature or a fix in a separate branch, a PR, a pull request, is how you say, okay, I'd like to merge these changes into the main branch. So we have the main branch where majority of the code is, where actually all of the code from our project is, and then we have a separate branch where we want to implement some changes on. So then when we create a pull request, we're saying essentially, hey, okay, so this branch that I've created with these changes, I now want to merge onto the main branch. Okay, that is essentially the concept behind a pull request. It gives teammates a chance to review your code, leave comments, and approve or request changes before anything gets merged onto the main branch. And once the pull request, once your branch is approved, the changes are merged into the main branch of the project. So this is a very nice image that I found actually on Google from a Medium article. And just to give you a little bit of context, this is the main branch. When you create a project on GitHub, you are always pushing your changes, or you're always starting to push your changes onto the main branch. Unless you create a different branch, which you would want to create a pull request, you will always be uploading and merging everything onto your main branch. Okay, so let's say here we are going to implement, okay, we've been creating code for our project, everything's been fine, we didn't need to create a pull request until now, or we didn't need to create or open up a new branch until now, but now we want to implement some fixes. Let's say we want to implement authentication in a project, but we actually want to create it in a separate environment because we don't want it to collide with the code that we have in our main branch as of today. So we open up a new branch, we create and commit all the code related to authentication in this case to the new branch that we've opened, and then we create a pull request where we say, okay, so I've created this branch here where I've implemented all the authentication for the project, and I've got my main branch here where I've got the rest of the code that has been created up to today. Okay, so we create a pull request saying to our team, okay, so I created this branch, it has got all the authentication stuff, let's merge it now onto the main branch. Then your team, what it will do, or anyone reviewing your code, will say, okay, I've reviewed your code, it is correct, it's a-okay, it can be merged into the main branch, and then they will merge it into the main branch, and now you will be essentially committing everything again to the main branch. Okay, that is the kind of workflow that goes behind the scenes that you have to have in your head when thinking about pull requests and creating new branches. So why would you want to use pull requests? I have identified 3 main reasons why. Okay, the first one being code reviews. Teammates can catch bugs, suggest improvements, and share knowledge before bad code hits the main branch. So imagine you are pushing everything onto the main branch, but for example, when we talked about authentication, let's say you pushed everything onto the main branch, but there was a major bug in your code, you didn't realize about it, and unintentionally with your code you can expose clients credentials, for example. You wouldn't want to push that onto the main branch, because number one, it is not really good practice. But number two, let's imagine that you also did something really serious in that commit, and someone could always see that main branch, could always see those commits that you made. And it is not a good idea to generally push everything onto the main branch, because you want to have separation of concerns when it comes to actually uploading code onto GitHub. Okay, you want to have specific branches for specific things, and have teammates review your code so that it doesn't introduce bugs or anything like that onto the main environment where you're creating the application. Okay. Then it allows for safe collaboration, because multiple people can work on different features simultaneously without stepping on each other's work. So if you have different teammates working on different things, you don't want them to really be working all at the same time in the main branch, because then it would be a complete mess. It would really be a mess, because you could have code from one person conflicting with the code from the other person. So that's why we want to have separation of concerns when it comes to our code. And then we have controlled merging. So nothing lands in main, nothing lands in the main branch without going through a deliberate reviewable process, which again, your teammates can review your code, your boss can review your code, you can even review your own code, but just make sure that you upload it to a different branch and you're not uploading it directly onto your main branch, because then it can literally mess up all your code base. So, what does the process of creating a PR look like? Let's have a look at this. So, let's imagine this scenario. I've got this very simple div with an h1 and a p tag. Okay. Now, I don't really like the name that I've given this container. Okay. I don't really like the h1 here. I don't like it. So let's say I want to change this h1. All right. So the first thing that I would have to do, and we have to identify if we're working on one of our own projects or if we're contributing to an open source project. But the step zero is, if you're contributing to an open source project, you want to fork the project so it gets added to your GitHub and install all the dependencies when you've opened it up on your code editor. Now, this will allow you to work on said project on your code editor, and then you can push the changes onto the new branch, which is what we are going to see now. Okay, but I just wanted to make this super clear, because you can be working on your own project, in which case you don't really need to fork it because you're already working on it. But if you're contributing to an open source project, you would want to fork that project onto your GitHub and open it on your code editor. Okay. Now, the first step would be to create and switch to a new branch by running git checkout b feature slash my feature. Now, this feature slash my feature is just the name of the branch. You don't need to use this name. You can use whatever you want. You could even call it my new branch if you wanted to. Okay. That will be the first step, and you need to run this in your terminal with your project opened, okay, in your code editor. Second step would be to make your changes. So in the example that I gave you before, we would change this h1 to, God knows, another different sentence that we like more than write less, post more. And that would be making our changes, then stage and commit them by running these commands on your terminal: git add dot and git commit m, which stands for, is the main flag, and the name that you want to give your commit. Okay, I just added this one as an example, but this is essentially the name that you will give to your commit. Then you will want to push the new branch with the changes over to GitHub by running git push origin and the name of your branch. What this will do is essentially push that branch that you opened up with git checkout. It will push it onto GitHub. Okay, and immediately GitHub will recognize that you are uploading, or that you're pushing a new branch, and it will give you the option to create a pull request, which is step number 4, which is going to your GitHub, where you will see a prompt to open up a pull request for your recently deployed branch. Just click on it, add a title and a description, and create the PR. And you will see something like this. You will see open up a pull request. You will see it on your main GitHub page where you have your repo with all your code files and stuff like that. You will see a little pop-up that says, okay, so a new branch has been created, and you can actually click on a button there to create a pull request, and then it will take you to this page. And then you just need to select the base branch that you want to merge your new branch into. So in this case, it would be master or main or whatever, and then compare which is the branch that you want to merge onto master, in this case, normally main. Okay. Then you would add a title here, a description, be as descriptive as possible with your pull requests, because this helps admins a lot when it comes to reviewing these pull requests and actually merging them onto the main branch. And then once you're happy with how everything looks, you can just click on the button create pull request, and it will create the pull request for you. And then the last step is just to wait for someone to review your PR if you are in a team or contributing to an open source project, or manually review and merge your PR if it is a project of your own and you have the ability to merge it yourself. Okay, so that is it with PRs. A little conclusion here: pull requests are more than a Git or a GitHub feature. Okay, they're a collaboration habit, they're a tool that can help you with creating safe code. They keep your main branch stable, your code reviewed, and your team aligned when it comes to the code that you're creating for the actual app or software that you're building. And like I said before, whether you work in solo or in a team, adopting PRs means fewer bugs in production. This is extremely important. You don't want to push bugs onto the main branch when you're doing something that requires your full attention and that requires at least more reviewing from your side or on behalf of other teammates. You want to create a pull request so that those changes can be reviewed before actually they get committed to the main branch. It also means better quality code or better code quality and a clear history of every decision made in your code base, because you might want to know why you made certain decisions, when you made them, and all that kind of good stuff. So those are the basics of pull requests. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you found this helpful, and I will see you on the next one.